Hi, my name is Travis Perry, and I'm going to give you a little buyer's guide tutorial on buying your first guitar. And this is a very low budget video. If you could see the way I've got this set up here in my office, you would laugh. I've got the camera, I don't even have a tripod. I've got my camera setting on a box of Planters salted peanuts and a Jam Man loop station, and I've got the camera facing my laptop open so I can see the back of it to make sure that I'm in the screen. Oh Lord, so if I lose the top of my head sometime, it's because or you see me looking around so I can see the reflection of the camera. All right. Anyway, I thought that was funny. What makes me qualified to give you this tutorial? First, I didn't want to do a tutorial. And then I started looking on YouTube because you can find there's a wealth of knowledge there. And all the tutorials, for one, either seem biased toward a certain product or guitar, or were so vague, like, well, when you buy a guitar, you need to decide whether you're going to buy a electric or an acoustic. Well, you need to decide this. I mean, well, sure. I mean, that's part of making the decision. I mean, you're stating the obvious. So anyway, some of my opinions will be my opinion, and that's what I think you should do, because I've been a music teacher for 31 years. I've taught guitar, dobro, fiddle, mandolin, banjo, stand-up bass, electric bass, harmonica. I've literally taught thousands of people to play musical instruments, but everyone should learn to play an instrument. And buying your first guitar is so important. My daddy bought me a guitar when I was 10 years old, about 40 years ago. And had my mother not went and bought her a guitar, I would have never learned the guitar. The guitar my father bought for me, he meant well, but he just didn't want to spend a lot of money on a guitar. And by the way, I own a music store, so I hear this all the time. I don't want to spend a lot of money and him put it in a corner. And I understand that. But there is you can spend too little of money and the guitar just be so sorry that the strings are so high from the fretboard, or the neck is bowed or twisted and they can't play. Okay? So that's what qualifies me. Is I've been a music store owner for 20 years. I've sold hundreds or thousands of guitars, and I've taught guitar for 31 years along with other instruments. All right, let's get into this. First, where to buy a guitar from? Well, probably where not to buy one from. Do not buy a guitar from a pawn shop. I'm not against pawn shops. I buy a lot of instruments from pawn shops, but I know what I'm looking for. The only way you need to buy one from a pawn store is that you have a friend or you're taking lessons and they can go with you and look at the guitar. The pawn stores are not trying to rip you off by any means. That's just not their business, is knowing guitars. Their business is loaning money on stuff, and when people don't pay for it, then they sell it. So they're just trying to get their money back out of it. So they're not going to intentionally sell you a guitar with a warped neck. They probably didn't even know it. So unless you have someone to go with you that you trust that plays guitar, make sure they have, even though you trust them, make sure they have some knowledge about the guitar and what to look for. Don't buy one from a pawn store, a flea market, or yard sale. Okay? Where to get one from? Find you a local music retailer. Someone that teaches guitar preferably and has a lot of different models and lines from low to high. And when I say low, under $100 all the way up to several $1,000s. That way they're not going to push you to just what their niche is or sell. Okay, internet buying. I don't know. I would prefer your first guitar probably to not buy it from the internet. I'm not against buying on the internet. I buy a lot on the internet, but I know what I'm looking for, and make sure of their return policy. That's so important. If you buy from an internet company, make sure they have a return policy, satisfaction guaranteed, so when you get it, if the neck is warped or there's some chips in the guitar or whatever, that you can return it for a full refund or replacement. My mouth is dry this morning. I've taken some sinus medicine and it dries my mouth out, and I need to get some water, I guess. But I'll carry on. Okay. Electric versus acoustic versus classical. Which one? My opinion, buy a acoustic guitar. Acoustic guitar, and what I mean by that is a metal string, steel string guitar. Classicals typically have 3 metal strings and 3 nylon or plastic strings. I don't recommend that. Why? Because the necks are wide. They have a lot wider neck on them. Harder for little hands to get around and form chords. Okay? It is true that the bottom 3 strings hurt their fingers a little less, but I think the trade-off in the neck being wider actually handicaps them more. Because you're going to get those calluses, and it's going to hurt your fingers a little bit. I mean, they're going to be sore some, but you work through that. You can even take an acoustic guitar like this and put nylon strings on it, or put a smaller gauge, like an 8 or a 9. And then that will press down a lot easier. You can even detune the guitar about a half step, which will mean the strings won't have as much tension on it, and they're easier to press down too. Okay, so also acoustic guitars. This is the dreadnought size. I think on the video it looks larger than it really is, but they make folk, 3/4, 5/8, concert, and parlor. Okay, those are all smaller body guitars, so that smaller people, 8, 9, 10-year-old boys and girls, or either women that have smaller frames, can hold better. And they still have a standard neck on them, with the necks are a little smaller, a lot smaller than on a classical. Don't ever buy a 12-string for a beginner. It will kill their fingers, and you're almost making failure a certainty with them because it will hurt so bad. I've played 40 years. I've been playing 40 years and teaching 31. And if I play a 12-string for any length of time, it hurts my fingers. All right, what to look for? Oh, price range. Let's go into price range. I was watching a YouTube video the other day, and they said anywhere from $200 to $500. Oh, no, I'm sorry, $300 to $500. No, you can find very good quality instruments in the $100 range, especially around Christmas. And you can find packages that would include the gig bag and a tuner and all that for under $1.50. I mean, 150 or less. A lot of Chinese companies, unfortunately, instead of the British invasion, it's a Chinese invasion on guitars. But on the bright side of that, they're for the most part, they're pretty good quality. They really are. So you can find a very good beginner guitar in the $100 range. Okay. All right. What to look for? First thing, run your hand very slowly up the neck on the bottom of the frets. They will be beveled, but make sure there's no chars or no sharp edges to it. I've literally cut my finger open before when one had left a big old char, whatever it's called, on the bottom. So check the bottom and the top of the frets and make sure that they're nice and smooth. Okay. Look on the back of the guitar. This is called the heel. This is where most of the pressure from the strings is pulling on the neck. This is the first place that usually pops. So make sure there's no gap or no crack right here. Most of your cheaper guitars, that's going to be glued right there. It won't be the neck and the heel won't be a solid piece. So that can give. Then come to the bridge. This is called the bridge, and the front one that's white is usually either bone or plastic. That's called the nut. Take a thin pick. Make sure that there's no gap right here. Make sure there's no gap. Also, make sure it's got a truss rod in it. You probably can't see it because of the lighting, but there's a hole right there in a metal rod, and there's a truss rod that runs in the middle of this neck. If this neck were to start to bow on me like that, then I could tighten it up and it would straighten that bow out. As a beginner, Never do that yourself. I've seen so many people bring their guitars in that burnt the guitar, broke the neck, cracked it, broke the truss rod because they didn't know what they were doing. So take that to a music store should that happen, okay? And then they can show you what to look for. All right, string height. You should be able, with minimal pressure, to press down on the first, second, and third fret. Come down to the 12th fret. It'll typically have 2 dots. The distance from the top of the fret to the bottom of the string should be no more than 3 times at the 12th fret, should be no more than 3 times down here. Okay? So just visually look at it, because you're not going to take in a tape measure and all that in the store. Just look at it, press down on top of the fret. That's not where you play, but that's where you test at. On top of the fret, and then come down to the 12th fret and press there. Should be no more than 3 times. If it's 5 times the distance, you've got a warped neck, or you've got too high a bridge action down here. Okay? All right. What else? Oh, tuner. Make sure you get a tuner. I don't care what brand you buy. This is actually one of our tuners, but I'm not pushing this tuner. It's a good tuner, but there's plenty of other good tuners out there. Please make sure your guitar is in tune every time you play, okay? And then, so have a tuner. Make sure you're always in tune. I hope this has helped you. I've tried to be unbiased, but maybe opinionated, because I believe what I'm telling you is what you need to be aware of and look for, and what you need to do. I'll put my information at the bottom of the screen. My name is Travis Perry. Feel free to email me if you have questions. And if you want to go to our website, it's ChordBuddy.com. We offer a lot of musical products there, and you can come there and browse and have a look-see there. But anyway, good luck buying your first guitar, and many years of making music to you.